Hello. How is everybody doing today? I am uh I'm at a different place. I am not in my regular setup, and I am something happened this morning. I need to be on my computer outside of my normal office, and I'm just trying to figure out how I can get this cast going properly. Um, and I would like to show you my screen, but I'm not super sure how. If I can't solve this in the next 30 seconds, I might just pop off for a little while and pop back on. But let's see. Da-na-na-na, da-da-da, da-na-na-na, do-do-do, full screen, logo. Interesting. So I'm able to show my screen. Here we go. I found it. The share screen button. Okay, let's get to it. Okay, there we go. I'm going to share my screen. There. Learning. Okay, so clearly I'm broadcasting from Vimeo. And so we're just going to follow along with the things that we've been learning this week. Here was the challenge that we did yesterday. Okay. That we laid down. And if I go here and I say File, Open, Recent, we go to the anchor point file. This was what we were working on yesterday. Okay, so there was this one. And let me press play, just like that, all right? Where we were essentially taking one layer, we were growing it by its width and changing its anchor point and rotating it. So 3 simple animations. So if I just choose any one of these rectangles, you can see there's a short rotation animation right down here, a rotation animation, a width animation, and I desperately hope that you can see the mouse today, because I was running into a couple of bugs with my other software earlier this week, and an anchor point right here as well. And then the other animation that we did was this one. Okay, almost exactly the same technique, but a different visual aesthetic. All right, so what we have, instead of just layers, we have rectangles or squares or shapes inside of a group, and then we're doing an animation both on the rectangles for this one. They are so R1 here, there's an X motion, it's moving inside the group, and it's also rotating at the same time. And then if you add a rotation to its group, okay, if you add a rotation to its group, then you get this more dynamic effect that would be hard to animate on its own. It would be really hard to do this animation only with the rotation elements, or only with a single layer, i.e. only on that. It's just much easier to do it with a group and then combine 2 sets of animations. All right, so we're going to take those, and then we had a challenge yesterday that we talked about, which is this: can you rebuild this animation? And I give a little hint. The hint was, when you change, or when you create an animation for your anchor points, you can actually change the key values that get created. So that's what we're going to do today. All right. So I'm going to start by duplicating this animation. So it's 520 by 145. It can be anything, but let's just make it exactly the same. 520, 145. And I give it a dark background. I press Command 1. You see that to zoom in. So like I'm way over here and I've lost my artboard, my scene, I can press Command 1. That's going to zoom in to the scene. And now I'm going to click right here on the color well to show colors. And I'm going to choose a dark color for that background. Next, I am going to add a rectangle. And we're going to style it a little bit. So relative mode is on. I'm not tracking any changes. Let's make it 40 by 40, or maybe 60. Yeah, that looks right. And then we're going to double click into that. You're going to select all of those points by pressing Command A, and we're going to change the corner radius to 10. Okay, so again, what I did is I double clicked on this and has one point selected, but by pressing Command A, it selected all the points. You can see they're all a little bit blue right now. And then I went up to the right, and in the radius property, I changed it to 10 and I hit Enter. Anywhere outside to deselect that thing, and let's set up our colors. It's going to be the same color as our background color. The fill is going to be, could be clear too if I wanted. And also I made it this green color. Right, so there's our shape, and we're pretty close to getting started. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to position it in the bottom right hand corner, and it looks like I pressed, so I just anchored it by moving it and pressing the Command button while I was dragging, and then I press Shift. With it selected, I press left once and up once just to move it into that position. And so that looks like, let's go back here. So that looks like the original one. Yeah, it looks like we're pretty close. Okay, so that rectangle here is a little bit smaller. Doesn't matter. It was 50 by 50. Okay, so we can fix that. We can go here, copy this, call that 50 by 50, and then do just the positioning again. So we go like this and like that. So now, if I was going to make a rotation, let's just say I rotated it by 180 degrees at the end of our timeline. 180, enter in that rotation. Oh, turn off relative mode, go back to the beginning, and type 0. Do that from time to time. There we go. So we have our rotation like that, see? 1 second animation, it's playing back at half speed. Clicking down here, I'm speeding it up to normal speed, 1x. That's what it looks like. Okay, so let's turn on relative mode again. And let's change the anchor point. Okay, so now our anchor point has changed. And it's rotating into its final position just like that. All right, so let's go like this. Let's change this. That's the animation that we just created. Now, why did it not choose? So when it was in relative mode, it didn't do the addition of the X animation that usually happens, because it was in relative mode and it was only changing the anchor point property, which is why it looked like it jumped back, right? But really what had happened was that it just changed the anchor point. And so it didn't jump, but it was just repositioned to exactly what we had done before. So that's why I had to move it back into place. Okay, but this isn't the effect that we want. What we want, right, is something that, goes out like that. All right. We can do this by changing the anchor point again. Whoops. So in this timeline, our anchor point has changed. I'm going to change it back to 0, or to its original state. Okay, that's its original state. Now I'm going to turn off relative mode. And now I'm going to change the anchor point. And what happens is it creates an X animation and a rotation animation, or it creates an X animation and an anchor point animation. Now that gives me the value right here of the anchor point. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to change that value. You see here how it's 1. Okay. Anchor points are measured in the relative space of the layer itself. So the layer is 50 by 50. Okay. 50 by 50. But when it's over on this little dot right here on the right-hand side, then that position there is 1. Okay, it measures that whole distance as 1. So it's normalized. That's the concept here. Normalized coordinates by 0.5. 0.5 means it's halfway down, and 1 means it's 1 across. And you always measure by the x and then the y. And so what we want to do is we want to change that so that the anchor point actually lies outside of our shape. And so you can do this. You can click here. You can change that anchor point to 1. Let's say it's 2.5. Now it's going to put it 1 length, 2 lengths, and another half length outside of the square. And we hit enter to set that. And then we go back to our original point here and we delete it. See, I select the first one here and we delete it. So now our anchor point is 2.5 and it's way outside. It's outside of this. It's not being drawn in here because it's not one of those values. So now if I hit it, oh, there we go. We're starting to get that animation like that. All right, let's move it into position again. And that's different. Yes, we just delete the X animation. That's what we want. And now we're going to turn on relative mode. We're going to go to something like this. We're going to bring that in. We're going to reposition it. We're going to do that position one more time. There we go. Okay, it looks like we're close, but unlike our other one, this one is going off the top. That means that 2.5 is a little bit too far. Okay, so let's go back here. Let's make this change to that. Undo, turn on relative mode. We're going to change it like this. We're going to select this. We're going to call it 2 and hit enter. And then we're going to select, delete, and then we're going to watch our animation. And there you go. That's the first part of our animation. And that was the tricky part. The rest, it comes down to using step curves. All right. Let me close this. Oh, look at this. Close. Come back over here. Actually, go back here. Go to the window. Go to Vimeo. We'll stop sharing. Now I'm gonna. There we go. I'm back. Okay. So we did this little anchor point hack, right? And it is possible to work with the anchor point in this way. And we will have a better UI for the anchor point in the future. But for now, this is just something I wanted to expand on because there are lots of ways that you can do some really beautiful stuff with the anchor point. And it's good to show you how it works today. Okay, so let's get back to it. There we go. So now what we want to do is let's go and make this timeline a little bit longer. I'm going to expand it. I'm going to change its timeline length to 2, and I'm going to hit the expand button. So I have all this extra time now. And what I want, press 1, Command 1 to get back because I moved it, is after this animation, I want it to immediately go like this again. And the way that I'm going to do that is I'm going to use a step curve to change the anchor point, to change the rotation, to reset the rotation and change the position of this shape right away. So right at this moment, I want to have this be right here. The easiest way for me to do that is to just copy it. So I can do copy and paste, creates another version. We call this marker. Because what happens is you can't use this shape itself values of this shape because we've changed the anchor point, and so the position is like right over here. So what I'm doing is I'm creating a marker, and let's turn on relative mode. I'm going to change its color to pink so I know what I know which one's which. Okay, and I'm going to just move this by pressing Command. I'm going to snap it into place. All right, so now the anchor point of that marker is, the anchor point there is, we need to make this 0 again, or we can make it like this or whatever. We just leave the marker in place. It doesn't even really matter what the position of it is because we're just going to snap to it in the end. But just to be clear, if I turn off our normal rectangle and then I turn it back on, you see they're overlapping. And the position of the marker is at 235, but the position of our rectangle is at 135. Okay, so they have different positions, even though the shapes, or like the visible part of the layer, is in the same place. So with that marker in place, I'm going to now I'm going to copy the rotation animation, and this is the best way to do it. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take these, I'm going to zoom out a little bit. Okay, I'm going to select the rotation animation. I'm going to copy it. I'm pressing Command C. I'm going to change that time to just a little bit further up, and I'm going to paste it. What happens is I'm pasting those values, and I'm creating a little step in between. And so now I'm just going to, with them selected, I'm just going to bring them back to 1.01. Okay, I could have also done that up here on the top right by changing the start point. And so now what you're going to see is you're going to see it, that rotation animation happens twice. And it's at this moment right here, the beginning of the second animation, that we want to focus on. We want to press Option left, Option right, Option left. You can do this right now. You press Option and then you just click the left and right keys back and forth. That's actually going to take you between all of the key values. But with this position right at the beginning of the next rotation animation, I'm going to grab my layer and I'm just going to snap it into position. Oh, I'm going to undo that. Sorry, I always forget to turn off relative mode. And then we snap it into position just like that. And now if I zoom in, if I zoom in to the timeline, just like this, okay, I can select, and I'm going to make this a step right. So it's also going to step. So there won't be any animation now between those two things. And if you look, what'll happen, there we go. We're close. We can delete this next animation like that. And we have the first part of our bump. All right. The next one we're going to do is, for some reason, X is here at 135 and 135. That's odd. Let's just delete. Let's undo. Let's delete this one. Make this a step right. There we go. Something there happened. It was in the wrong position to begin with. That's okay. So let's try this one more time. I'm going to move this guy back. So the marker needs to be there. Just get rid of the marker animations. And we can press Command. And we're going to get rid of these. So I made a little bit of mistake and I'm going to fix it. What did I do wrong? There was already an X animation in there for some reason. All right. So we have that in position. This is our original animation, properly centered. Okay, I'm gonna copy and paste this animation over here at 1.01, pasted. All right, I'm gonna zoom in to the timeline just to make sure that's a step. It looks like a step curve. Yep. Then right here at 1.01, we're going to press, sorry, we're going to zoom out. We're going to then take this and we're going to animate it like that. Okay, that looks nice and clean. We're going to delete the end of our animation, and now we're going to change this to a step right. So now this should be nice and clean. There we go. Okay. And so the next part of the animation is identical. We take the marker, put the marker here. Okay. We select the two animations there. Go like this. What we can do is just bring this back, undo, and paste. And then right here at this moment in time, we let's relative mode off. We change it. We make this one a step right, and we delete this part of the animation like that. And it looks like we have our animation. And I'm going to delete this one. One. And there we go. Okay, so a little bit of an advanced trick today. And you can even see that I know how to use Flow myself, but I can get it wrong from time to time. Let me just stop sharing so I can show my beautiful face. There we go. Yeah, so like I said, an advanced technique, but you can actually do some really cool things with the anchor point. And I think that that's going to be it for anchor points, at least for a little while. And because, I mean, they're simple things. They're very handy to use, especially if you have, especially if you're using them in groups and you're sort of using them to compound different animations, like a layer inside of a layer, or a layer inside of a group inside of a group, that kind of thing. You can get some really advanced things. And yeah, that's our anchor points. No challenges for today. I think we're pretty good for time. So I'm going to say goodbye. Tomorrow, what I would like to do is I want to give you guys a little update on the things that we've been working on at Flow. So there's a few bug fixes and cool little features that we've been adding. And I'll give an intro to all of those, the things that we've been working on over the last 2 weeks. Okay, have a good day. Bye.